Ladies and gentlemen, a man stood at the edge of a cliff staring into the fog. He wasn't afraid of falling, he was afraid of flying. Many of you are not stuck because of your circumstances, you're stuck because you are waiting to feel ready. You wait for motivation, you wait for clarity, you wait for the perfect moment. But let me tell you something no one told you before. That moment will never come. You must force yourself to take action, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way forward. And if you don't watch this through, your old habits will reclaim you before this day ends. So now let me walk you into the fire, not to burn, but to forgive weakness, sharpen resolve, and return with strength. When most people think about change, growth, or success, they imagine a surge of energy, a wave of inspiration that lifts them up and carries them forward. They wait for that perfect moment when the stars align, their mood is just right and everything feels possible. But this mindset is precisely why so many never move. Because that moment, the one where motivation is high and the path is clear, comes rarely, and when it does, it doesn't last. The truth is this: you do not act because you're motivated, you act because you're trained to. Because you've built within yourself a discipline so strong that it overrides the desire to stay comfortable. Motivation is emotion, and emotion by its very nature is fleeting. It rises and falls like waves. One day you're full of fire, the next you're tired, discouraged, distracted. And if your progress relies on those emotional highs, your results will always be inconsistent. Worse, you'll become a slave to how you feel. On good days, you'll move a little. On bad days, you'll stop completely. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is like the mountain. Unmoving, solid, silent. It doesn't wait to feel right, it simply does what must be done. That's the core of forcing yourself to take action, not waiting for the internal green light, but walking forward, even when everything in you is screaming to stay still. Think of a martial artist standing before the training hall at dawn. His body is tired, muscles sore, mind clouded with doubt, but still he bows. He steps onto the cold stone. Why? Not because he feels like it, not because someone is watching, but because he has made a decision, a commitment that action is not optional. It is the path. This is what discipline looks like in real life. It is waking up when you want to sleep. It is going for that run when the rain is falling. It is doing the work even when no one sees it. And over time, something remarkable happens. You begin to transform. Not just in body, in mind, in spirit. The weak voice that once controlled you becomes quieter, and the strong one, the voice that commands action, grows louder. But here's the secret: discipline is not born, it is built. Brick by brick, moment by moment, by choosing to act even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. The more you force yourself to act in the absence of motivation, the more that behavior becomes who you are. Eventually it's no longer forcing, it's simply your nature. People look at those who succeed and say, they're so motivated. But that's rarely true. They are consistent. They have trained themselves to move regardless of mood. They have made discipline their master, and in doing so they've become free. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel strong. You simply need to decide, I will act. And once that decision is made, don't think, don't negotiate, move. Because each time you do, you're telling yourself a powerful message. I am not ruled by comfort. I am not ruled by fear. I move because I choose to. That is how transformation begins. That is how power is born. Growth is never found in ease. It is found in the hard moments. The ones you try to avoid. The ones you label as pain, struggle, or failure. But what if the very things you resist are the things designed to forge you? What if suffering is not punishment, but preparation? Too often we see suffering as something to be escaped. We seek comfort, predictability, ease, but growth does not live there. Nothing evolves in stillness. A seed does not break through the soil without resistance. A muscle does not grow without tension. And the human spirit does not rise without being tested. When you suffer, when you're tired, uncertain, doubting, hurting, your instinct is to retreat, to pull back into safety. But that's the exact moment when something greater is being offered to you. Suffering is not just a burden, it is a mirror. It shows you who you really are. It shows you what you believe, what you fear, what you cling to. And once you see that clearly, you have a choice: collapse or rise. Think about the process of sharpening a blade. You don't improve it by laying it gently on silk. You grind it against stone, again and again, until it becomes something deadly, something beautiful, something purposeful. You are no different. The friction you face in life, the hard days, the setbacks, the discomfort, is your grindstone. But here's what most miss. The goal is not to avoid suffering. The goal is to learn from it, to walk through it with awareness, to ask, what is this moment teaching me? Because every painful moment carries a lesson, a truth, a message. When you're struggling to push through and everything in you wants to quit, that's your chance to build something you can't gain from success alone: resilience, that invisible armor that stays with you. You can't buy it, you can't fake it, you earn it through pain, through discipline, through enduring what others run from. And there's something else. Suffering gives you empathy. It humbles you. When you've faced your own demons, you're less likely to judge others. You understand the weight they carry. And that understanding becomes strength. Not softness, but deep, unshakable strength. There's an old saying, the obstacle is the path. It means that what you fear, what you want to avoid, is often exactly where you need to go. The pain is not blocking the path, it is the path. And when you walk it with intention, you come out not just with achievement, but with transformation. You will suffer, that is certain, in your training, in your relationships, in your thoughts. But if you can change your relationship to that suffering, if you can welcome it as a necessary part of becoming, then it no longer controls you. It becomes your tool. And the more you face it, the stronger you become. Until one day, what once broke you now builds you. What once scared you now sharpens you. And what once held you back now fuels you. So do not run from suffering, do not curse it, lean into it, feel it, use it, let it carve away what you no longer need. And what will remain is something rare. A person who cannot be shaken by discomfort. A person who knows how to walk through fire, not because they enjoy the burn, but because they know what lies on the other side. And that is where you become unbreakable. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must face a difficult truth. No one is coming. Not to save them, not to push them, not to carry them forward. This realization can feel heavy, even painful, but it is also one of the most liberating truths you will ever learn. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to change your life is the moment you gain the power to change it yourself. We are conditioned, often from a young age, to look outward for answers. We seek guidance, approval, encouragement. We wait for the perfect mentor, the right partner, the ideal opportunity. We hope that someone stronger, wiser, more experienced will come and show us the way, lift us from our struggle, hand us the motivation we lack. But that mindset only breeds passivity, and passivity keeps you stuck. The only person responsible for your life is you, your progress, your pain, your power. It all begins and ends with your willingness to take control. You are your own rescuer. And this doesn't mean you never accept help or guidance. It means you don't rely on it to move forward. You don't make action conditional on external support. There will be days when no one understands your vision, when your effort goes unseen, your struggle unacknowledged. Days when you wake up tired, discouraged, and tempted to believe that you need someone else to pull you out of it. But you must remember, every time you wait for someone to fix things, you give away your strength. Every time you say, I can't do this without help, you hand over your power. This is not about becoming isolated. It's about becoming responsible. When you stop depending on others to create the momentum in your life, you begin to build something far more powerful than motivation. Self-command, the ability to tell yourself to act and to follow through. When you embrace the fact that you are your own foundation, everything shifts. Obstacles become training grounds, setbacks become teachers, and loneliness becomes a forge. where your resolve is shaped. There will be moments of silence, no applause, no cheering crowd, just you and the choice to stand up or to stay down. And it's in those quiet battles that your strength is formed, not when someone is watching, not when you're being praised, but when no one sees and you rise anyway. You might feel overwhelmed. You might think, I don't have what it takes. But remember this, everything you admire in others, resilience, focus, strength, was built, not born. And it was built by people who decided they would stop waiting. They stopped blaming, they stopped depending. They looked in the mirror and said, if I don't do it, it won't get done. That is the energy you need to step into. Not the energy of desperation, but the energy of ownership. You do not need more time. You do not need more approval. You need a decision, a commitment to yourself. I will act. I will move. I will become the person who gets it done. Because when you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, you become something far more powerful than saved. You become sovereign. And that's when your life truly begins to change. You don't need to see the entire path to take the first step. But so many people wait. They wait for certainty. They wait for the full picture. They wait until the conditions are perfect, the timing is ideal, the doubts are gone. And in waiting, they stagnate. They stand still, hoping clarity will appear through thinking, planning, or wishing. But real clarity doesn't come from thinking alone. It comes from doing. Movement is what clears the fog. The act of stepping forward, even when unsure, activates something deeper than analysis. When you take action, you invite feedback from life. You begin to see what works and what doesn't. You gain experience, not just theory. And that experience gives you direction, confidence, and ultimately clarity. Think of a path in a dense forest. From where you stand, the trail may look blocked, too many trees, too much undergrowth. But when you start walking, a strange thing happens. One step reveals the next. You move a branch, you find an opening. A light appears between the leaves. You couldn't see it from the starting point, but it was there, waiting to be discovered by movement. Most people never get to that point. They're paralyzed by indecision, overthinking every detail, consumed by the fear of choosing wrong. But understand this, inaction is also a choice, and often the most dangerous one. It feeds self-doubt, it deepens confusion, it convinces you that you're lost when all you really need is motion. Even a wrong step teaches. Even failure gives you something that stillness never can: perspective. When you act, you learn. When you learn, you grow, and through growth, the path forward becomes clearer. There's a kind of wisdom that cannot be accessed through books or contemplation. It only reveals itself through sweat, risk, and movement. You'll never know how far you can run by reading about running. You'll never know your own resilience by thinking about difficulty. You must do. You must step into the unknown with courage and trust that clarity will meet you partway. It doesn't matter if your first step is small. What matters is that it breaks inertia, because once you begin moving, momentum builds, and momentum is powerful. It pulls you forward, it fuels motivation, and it quiets the voice of hesitation. That voice, the one that says, I'm not ready, or what if it goes wrong, feeds on stillness, but movement drowns it out. With every action, you weaken the grip of fear. You show yourself that uncertainty is not a wall, it's a mist, and mist disappears as you walk through it. There is a shift that happens when you move without guarantees. You stop needing permission, you stop needing certainty, you start to trust your ability to adapt, to respond, to course correct. You stop looking for the perfect answer and begin building your own. No one ever built anything meaningful by waiting for the ideal moment. They started with what they had. They acted when they were uncertain. They moved when fear told them to freeze. And because of that, they discovered their own strength. So if you're standing still, wondering when clarity will come, stop waiting. Act. Take the first step, then take another. Don't wait to understand everything. Just trust that movement will reveal what stillness never will. Because the path is not something you find. The path is something you create, one step at a time. There is a voice inside you, you hear it every day. It whispers when the alarm goes off in the morning, when the task in front of you feels too big, when the training gets hard, when the risks feel overwhelming. It says things like, just 5 more minutes, or you can do it later, or this is too much, maybe you're not ready. That voice is subtle. It sounds reasonable, but it is the voice that kills potential, slowly and silently. This voice is not your enemy, but it is not your master either. It is a part of you shaped by fear, by past failures, by the need for safety. Its goal is to keep you comfortable. But comfort is not where growth lives. And if you listen to that voice without question, it will steal days, months, even years from your life. Time you can never get back. The key is to master this inner dialogue, to recognize it, challenge it, and ultimately replace it with a stronger voice, the voice of command, of clarity, of discipline. You don't silence the weak voice by force. You silence it by taking action in spite of it. When it says, stay in bed, you get up. When it says, skip the hard part, you dive into it. Each time you disobey the voice of comfort, you strengthen the voice of your true self, the one that leads you, not limits you. Most people think the fight is external. They think success depends on beating the competition, having more resources, finding better circumstances, but the real battle is internal. It's the conversation you have with yourself in the quiet moments, the thoughts you allow, the ones you entertain, and the ones you command. You will never control every thought that comes into your mind, but you can control which ones you listen to. You can choose which voice you respond to, and that choice defines the quality of your life. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel doubt or fear. They're the ones who have trained their inner voice to speak with authority. They've built a habit of commanding themselves toward action. They've turned inner chaos into inner discipline. This takes practice. In the beginning, the negative voice is louder. It's used to being heard. It's used to winning. But over time, with repetition and commitment, you begin to flip the balance. You build a voice that says, get up, keep going, you've got more in you. And you begin to believe it, not because it's sweet, but because it's strong. That strength shows up in your choices, in the moments when no one is watching, when it's easier to quit but you stay, when it's tempting to skip but you show up. That's not motivation, that's self-mastery. That's the result of taking control of your inner world. You can't always control the external world. Life will be chaotic, unfair, unpredictable. But if you can control the conversation happening inside of you, you remain unshaken, you remain powerful. Because no matter what happens outside, you are led by a voice that pushes you forward. So don't be passive with your thoughts. Don't let the weakest parts of you take the lead. Speak back, take control, tell yourself what needs to be done, and then do it. Every day, you're either training the voice that excuses or the voice that executes. Choose carefully, because one will keep you stuck, and the other will set you free. The ability to act now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect, is one of the most powerful habits you can ever develop. Because every moment you delay action, you allow resistance to grow stronger. Procrastination is not just a bad habit. It is the silent assassin of dreams. It disguises itself as logic, as planning, as just waiting for the right time. But in truth, it is hesitation in disguise. And hesitation is the thief of momentum. There's a small window between intention and execution, a space where you feel the urge to move, go for the run, make the call, start the work. But then your mind begins to interfere. It starts creating reasons to wait. Let me just relax first. Maybe I should research more. I'll feel more ready tomorrow. And in that moment, if you don't act, you lose. You lose time, you lose energy, you lose confidence in yourself. Because every time you delay doing what you know you need to do, you teach your brain that hesitation is acceptable, that comfort takes priority, and that subtle lesson rewires your behavior. Soon, not acting becomes your default. And then weeks go by, months pass, and nothing has changed, except your regret. Action, on the other hand, builds strength. It builds identity. The moment you act, even in a small way, you shift your relationship with resistance. You tell yourself, I am not someone who waits. I am someone who moves. And that identity is powerful. Because the more often you choose action, the more natural it becomes, not because it gets easier, but because you become stronger. The secret is not in doing everything at once, it's in mastering the habit of immediate movement. You don't need to finish the entire project right now, but you do need to start. You don't need to run the marathon today, but you do need to put on your shoes. You don't need to have all the answers, but you do need to step into motion. Taking action creates clarity, it creates momentum, and momentum is where discipline grows. The hardest part is never the action itself, it's the delay before it. The longer you sit in hesitation, the heavier the task feels. But when you act quickly, you bypass that resistance before it takes hold. It's like jumping into cold water. If you stand at the edge, thinking about how cold it's going to be, how uncomfortable it will feel, you hesitate, you suffer before you even begin. But if you just jump, your body adapts. You realize it wasn't as bad as you imagined. That's the power of acting without delay. There is freedom in moving fast, not reckless speed but decisive commitment. It tells the mind, we don't debate action, we follow through. And over time, that becomes who you are. A person who doesn't negotiate with discomfort. A person who doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. A person who doesn't hesitate when the moment arrives. So the next time you feel resistance rising, don't feed it with thought. Don't wrestle with it. Don't wait for inspiration. Just move, take one step, then the next. Let action be the answer. Because the person who moves now, even imperfectly, is always ahead of the person who waits to feel ready. You don't rise by thinking. You rise by doing. And the time to do is now. A sword does not sharpen itself. A tree does not grow without pushing against the soil. And you will not rise without resistance. So stop waiting. You do not need more time. You need more courage. Force yourself to take action, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because when you do, you are not just changing your life. You are remembering who you were always meant to be.